The government of the Russian Federation is looking for those to blame for the breakdown of negotiations between dictator Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump in Budapest. The Kremlin placed the blame for this on the Russian Foreign Ministry, since the memorandum with its unrealistic and excessive demands, which sounded like an ultimatum, caused Trump's anger and the subsequent cancellation of the meeting. Lavrov has been named the main culprit. It was he whom the Western press called the main factor in the cooling of relations with the US. Several media outlets report that Lavrov came to the meeting with Secretary of State Marco Rubio unprepared, refused to engage in discussion, and took an overly hardline stance on Ukraine, trying to follow the Kremlin's instructions to the letter. According to the Telegram channel Nexta, insiders say that Lavrov received a severe reprimand from Putin. The head of the Russian Foreign Ministry was almost accused of sabotage, since under no circumstances was he supposed to disrupt the summit. Amid the scandals, Kirill Dmitriev flew to the US in an attempt to ease attention. Journalist Rostislav Mirzagilov shared insider information from the Kremlin about Lavrov's fate. Putin is seriously considering the option of dismissing the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation as soon as the intensity of Russia's aggressive actions against Ukraine decreases.
When he gets removed, Putin will start looking for someone to blame. That's typical for him. So, accordingly, Lavrov is the perfect scapegoat. He has said a lot of nasty things. He has cursed at the Russian Federation's international partners.
On October 16th, US President Donald Trump announced that he intended to hold a meeting with Putin in Hungary. He did not announce the date of the summit, but noted that talks between the foreign ministers were planned beforehand. Already on October 22nd, Trump stated that he had canceled the summit with Putin. On the same day, the US Treasury Department imposed sanctions against Russian oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil. Soon after, Trump stated that he would not meet with Putin or waste his time until there was an understanding about reaching a peace agreement between Ukraine and the Russian Federation.
The head of the foreign ministry of the aggressor country Russia, Sergei Lavrov, stated that rumors about the poisoning of former Syrian dictator Bashar Assad allegedly do not correspond to reality. Earlier, the media reported that in September Assad was urgently taken to the hospital after a possible poisoning attempt. The head of the Russian Foreign Ministry said that the former Syrian dictator has no problems in Moscow and that no poisoning took place. Lavrov added that the Kremlin has provided asylum to Assad and his family, purely for humanitarian reasons. Sergei Lavrov also commented on the absence of Moscow's representatives at the summit in Egypt dedicated to concluding a peace agreement on the Gaza Strip. According to him, Russia was not invited. He said that the invitation was sent by the summit organizers. The leadership of Egypt, which coordinated its actions with other Arab initiators but primarily with the United States. It should be noted that this is the first statement from the head of the foreign ministry of the aggressor country after a long absence from the public sphere. The Telegram channel Kremlin Tabakerka previously reported that the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin was allegedly advised to arrest Lavrov for treason. According to the channel sources, at the very least he faces dismissal. In particular, Lavrov is accused of allegedly committing treason and of hindering the establishment of Russian-American relations. The possible dismissal of the foreign minister may be connected to the power transition in the Kremlin. According to the Telegram channel General SVR, the alleged successor to the presidency of Russia is Dmitry Patrushev, who currently serves as Deputy Prime Minister of the Russian Federation. The channel reports that the end of the power transition is already near.
He's actually so incredibly ancient that he knew the Kremlin Führer back when he was still pretending to be a Democrat.
What is this? Have they completely lost their minds or what? It's just unbelievable.
Just like his balding boss in his chair, or rather in his stall, he's been there for over 20 years.
You know, I'm actually a horse. A shapeshifter.
Once a respected and influential diplomat who ruined his own reputation, obediently washing Puilos's dirty laundry. But
You could never make my husband do the laundry.
Yeah, scent would make him do it.
a showy traditionalist, a devoted family man, a script carrier, and just a God-fearing Christian.
Sergei Viktorovich Lavrov, who is the Distinguished Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, is hereby awarded the prestigious Order of the Holy Prince Alexander Nevsky, First Class, by the Russian Orthodox Church.
In reality, an adulterer, clumsily hiding his mistress, or rather, even his second family.
A business trip to a diplomatic mission, yes, that's exactly what it says. A business trip at the age of just 13.
A debauchee and libertine who happily spends time on luxurious yachts in the company of powerful oligarchs and high-class prostitutes.
Nice work.
The living embodiment of Russian diplomacy and notorious arrogance. In other words, a boor and a lout, concealing himself behind diplomatic protocols, official suits and ties. One of the main accomplices of the infamous bunker villain who is actively promoting war on the international stage.
So, a ceasefire right now would mean only one thing: that a huge part of Ukraine would currently remain under the control of the Nazi regime.
A loyal, proven, and consistently reliable puppet of the vile little Putin, who has thoroughly discredited himself to such an extent that his master could easily throw him out like trash at any moment, or maybe even out the window.
Then tell me, what advice or recommendation can you perhaps give in this situation, please?
A hypocrite, manipulator, cynical liar, and war criminal who has been responsible for Russia's foreign policy for over 20 years.
So it's you that everyone is cursing. It's you who are to blame for everything.
A cowardly opportunist and careerist who figured it out even in his youth. The USSR is a multinational state where everyone is equal, but still, Russians are more equal than others.
I am Russian.
But let's not really kid ourselves.
Kalantarian or Kalantarov, that is the real surname of the head of the Russian Foreign Ministry. His father is a Georgian Armenian, and Lavrov himself is from Tbilisi. Sergei's childhood was spent on Ararat Street in the Armenian district of the city. Over time, the family ended up in the city of Noginsk in the Moscow region and later moved to Moscow, where Sergei's far-sighted mother, an employee of the USSR Ministry of Foreign Trade, enrolled her son in a school with advanced English studies, which Lavrov successfully graduated from, earning a silver medal.
I don't speak any languages, Your Honor.
It would seem all doors to the country's top universities were open to such a talented boy. That's true, but not to the elite ones. Especially not the Institute of International Relations. The boy's Caucasian roots could have put an end to his future brilliant diplomatic career. And so, not to tempt fate, Sergei Kalantarian became Lavrov, taking his mother's suitably traditional Russian surname. I'm narrow-minded. So just as with his very birth, Sergei owed his entry into diplomatic life to his mother. After her son graduated from MGIMO, it was she, using her connections in the Ministry of Foreign Trade, who helped Sergei get a job at the Soviet Foreign Ministry.
It will be them, not these, who put us in the defendant's seat, especially you diplomats.
Just a few years later, Lavrov would receive his first significant position at the USSR's mission to the UN. The collapse of the Soviet Union would hardly affect Sergei's career. He would automatically transition from a Soviet diplomat to a Russian one. Although, judging by the sweater Lavrov wore when he showed up in Alaska almost 35 years after the collapse of the evil empire, he still seems to be nostalgic for the socialist prison camp.
Sergei Viktorovich, is this your first time in Alaska? Twins, could you please tell us? Is it your first? I've been here before, I have. Do you like it?
There was absolutely nothing imperial about it at all. There was no discussion or talk whatsoever of any attempts to revive imperial thinking, as some people claim.
It was in the USA, on enemy soil, deep behind enemy lines, that the first daughter, Ekaterina, was born to the Russian ultra-patriot from his official wife, Maria Lavrova. For a long time, with all his might, Sergei would pretend to be a true, upstanding family man and proclaim traditional values at every turn. But no matter how long you twist the rope, the end will show. Over time, journalists saw through the charade and discovered his second unofficial family, Lavrov's. But we'll talk about this corrupting influence of the West a bit later.
A little about myself. Split personality, constant nonsense. Erotomania.
After the collapse of the Soviet Union, in Yeltsin's new Russia, Lavrov becomes the permanent representative of the Russian Federation to the UN and Security Council. Sergei Viktorovich serves in this role for over 10 years, until 2004, when Putin appoints him Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Weren't you warned that I suffer from all kinds of nervous and mental illnesses?
The connections he built in New York and his extensive diplomatic experience did their job. On the international stage, Lavrov became a highly respected figure. At that time, few were able to see the lame nag and the dashing Bucephalus. The first warning signs that revealed the diplomat's true rude nature rang out in 2008, when during a conversation with the British minister, the head of the Russian Foreign Ministry got personal.
The Daily Telegraph described how, in 2008, the minister, in a phone conversation with the UK Foreign Secretary, spoke in an aggressive tone and used obscene language. Who are you to fucking lecture me? Who are you to tell me what to do?
You'd think that for any normal diplomat, such rude communication would be unacceptable, but not for the head of foreign affairs of Russia's ignorant little czar. For a St. Petersburg thug, being a boorish diplomat isn't a drawback. If anything, it's the opposite.
The streets of Leningrad taught me one rule. If a fight is truly inevitable, you have to strike first.
And not for nothing, Lavrov is the most resilient of Putin's ministers. A bunker dweller with a criminal past, he likes that his country's diplomacy is done in a way and language he understands.
To use slang, but still we have this saying. A guy said, a guy did it, right?
After landing the position of foreign minister, and with it unlimited influence, Lavrov, just like most top officials in the Russian Federation, set about improving his own personal life and well-being. No, not the lives of ordinary Russians, but his own. And also those of his numerous relatives and mistresses.
I can't believe it. Really? Such crocodile appetites!
For many years, Lavrov's private life, just like that of Russia's main Führer Putler, was almost a state secret. His official wife Maria and daughter Ekaterina lead very private lives. The head of the family made sure they had cushy positions, and so I bought their silence. And the second one to my real but unofficial family.
This is truly a lot of money and a lot of trust. Young men.
Lavrov's mistress, or rather his real but unofficial wife, is called Svetlana Polyakova. Journalists from the Alexei Navalny Foundation claim that they have been together for more than 20 years. It is Svetlana who is regarded in the highest circles of Russian politics, and in fact, in the foreign ministry as the only wife of the head. The woman is present at many official events, up to and including meetings with the Russian dictator. Thanks to Lavrov, a wide circle of Svetlana Polyakova's family constantly uses government planes as if they were their own private tour bus.
Not only the mistress is taken to the most important interstate negotiations, but also her mother and daughter. And in addition, an 18-year-old niece mistress of Lavrov travels the world on behalf of the foreign ministry. Her name is Valeria Polyakova. She flew to Azerbaijan on a foreign ministry plane as an accompanying family member. In March 2019, she flew with him to Vienna. And in December 2016, she flew to Hamburg on Lavrov's plane, on a business trip to a diplomatic mission. That's exactly what it says. On a business trip at the age of 13.
Polyakova owns a 260 square meter apartment in the center of Moscow, a dacha in the Moscow region, and an impressive collection of cars. The minister didn't neglect Svetlana's daughter either. Her 22-year-old stepson Ippolini, in the most prestigious district of London, Lavrov bought an apartment. Its value is over £4 million sterling.
Remember, gentlemen, this country will, as we all know, be ruined by corruption and...
Still, at whose expense is Sergei Viktorovich living it up? After all, the minister's official salary wouldn't even be enough to buy jewelry for Svetlana, his mistress.
Just give.
Could you please give me my money now? Thank you. I'm really very poor.
It turns out Lavrov is the personal escort of billionaire minister Oleg Deripaska. For the oligarch, having trouble getting an American visa is no big deal. He simply sends his errand boy using his connections. The foreign ministry steps in to resolve the issue. Western sanctions against Deripaska's company, and Lavrov, he throws himself into the fray, publicly denouncing his opponents and calling their actions Russophobia, reminiscent of genocide. In return, Deripaska pays for all the whims of his pet minister, including vacations on a luxury yacht that costs about $500,000 a week to rent. He throws in some cash for private jet travel and allocates funds to the minister's family as well, for Lavrov to buy up elite real estate in currently decadent Europe.
When Deripaska's company had a conflict with the authorities in Guinea, where he has bauxite and aluminum production, Lavrov rushed there personally to sort things out. And he got what he wanted. Using his status, he met with the president of Guinea and resolved all of Deripaska's problems. Well, it wasn't all for nothing after all. After all, Deripaska has been taking his family on vacations for years.
Deripaska also has business interests in Jamaica. There too, Lavrov is lobbying on his behalf. He secured preferences for Rusal in alumina mining.
But all this, as they say, is just family business. But what about Lavrov's main area of professional activity? On the international stage, here things are pretty bleak for Sergei. After the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Kremlin's talking horse completely lost it. All remnants of his former authority are gone.
If I remember correctly, though I might be mistaken, but I think Hitler also had Jewish blood. That means absolutely nothing. We have long since... We've heard the wise Jewish saying that the most passionate anti-Semites are usually, as is often observed, Jews themselves. In
his hatred for Ukrainians, Lavrov has lied and tangled himself up so much that he managed to deeply offend Jews as well, for which, as a result, his master Putin himself was forced to apologize personally. All in all, the once all-powerful minister of a mighty country has become an outcast and a laughingstock for everyone. You know, the war that we are trying to stop is not one that we began or wanted. It was started against us, and those responsible have used the Ukrainian people in this conflict, making them suffer as a result. Our intention has always been to bring an end to the fighting and to restore peace, not only for ourselves but also for those who have been caught in the middle. We are committed to doing everything we can to stop this war and to protect everyone affected by it. What real difference does it make? Thought Lavrov. After all, Joachim Ribbentrop's ultimate end was no better than that of Joseph Goebbels's.
Among the values that Ukraine promotes under Zelensky, let me remind you, are also the values of Nazism.
Karma is an inescapable thing. According to independent journalists, 75-year-old Lavrov has begun to experience serious health problems. And the horse, racing against Don Don, gallops confidently and swiftly. To hell. The first symptoms of the chief diplomat of the swamp's illness were detected back in 2022 during his visit to Bali. That was where the G20 summit was held. According to Russian media, information spread about Lavrov being hospitalized in a local hospital. As a result, the Foreign Ministry's press drunkard Maria Zakharova hurriedly rushed to deny everything and published a video supposedly showing her healthy boss. But the sight of a gaunt Sergei Viktorovich only fueled suspicions. Well, and
for about 10 years now, they've been writing that our president is ill. This is, in fact, a game that's nothing new in politics.
Now, information is currently being widely circulated all over Russian telegram channels about the possible demise of the old nag.
Putin was advised to put Lavrov in prison for treason. The head of the foreign ministry is upset and afraid that a missile will kill him. In
the Kremlin jar of spiders, Lavrov has plenty of enemies, and it seems they've sensed that the old man isn't what he used to be. And in Putin's criminal circle, they know exactly what to do with worn-out horses.
Worn-out horses get shot after all, don't they?
Be that as it may, the days of the aging, increasingly frail old man who currently occupies the minister's chair are slowly coming to an end. The only real question that remains is whether President Putin will allow his loyal, long-serving old steed to retire honorably for health reasons, or perhaps following a common and well-known tradition among the Russian elite, the one who knows too much will, quite suddenly, fall out of a Moscow high-rise window.
Yet another mysterious death. In Moscow, the vice president of Transneft, Andrei Badalov, has died. According to telegram channels close to law enforcement, he fell from the balcony of a 17th-floor apartment on Rubliovskoye Highway.
I want to remind you that this video is created for entertainment purposes and contains elements of satire and irony. All facts and events are presented in a hyperbolized or exaggerated manner to convey a comedic or dramatic effect. We do not aim to mislead anyone in any way, but simply wish to emphasize humor and lightheartedness. Please take this with a smile and a sense of fun.